Let's dive right in. Welcome to this explainer. Today we are unpacking something absolutely fascinating called clinical Polemos. If you've ever found yourself wondering how the incredibly complex and, let's be honest, often totally competing priorities of the healthcare system actually get negotiated, well, you are in the perfect place. We're going to explore how this unique digital tool acts as an arena for navigating high-stakes healthcare decisions, all by simulating debates among the system's own stakeholders.
Picture this for a second. You're in a high-stakes hospital environment. You've got a surgeon, a hospital chief financial officer, and a bedside registered nurse. They are all looking at the exact same patient, but they are seeing that patient through entirely different lenses. So what happens when they fundamentally disagree on the best path forward? This clash of perspectives, it's the everyday reality of medicine, and it's exactly what our topic today is built to capture.
The core premise here is completely uncompromising. As the source material puts it, each persona argues strictly from its own seat in the system, none of them soften for the others. You know how in real life people might compromise or just hold back to be polite? Not here. The unrelenting nature of these debates is the whole point. The platform forces these distinct, unyielding viewpoints to collide head-on, completely stripping away the pleasantries so you can get straight to the core arguments.
Okay, Section 1, the healthcare perspective clash, seeing the system through different lenses. To really grasp what we mean by different lenses, let's contrast two distinct roles. Take the surgeon. The surgeon is wired for decisive, irreversible action. They take deep personal accountability for the physical outcome, right? Their focus is structural repair. But then look at the geriatrician. They're looking at the exact same scenario, but they're thinking about frailty, the patient's overall goals of care, and often avoiding aggressive intervention just for its own sake. When you force those two viewpoints into a room together, you get a profoundly educational clash. Moving on to Section 2. Enter Clinical Polemos, the debate bench.
Now, you might be wondering about that name. Polemos is actually the Greek word for war, or battle. And I absolutely love this because it perfectly sets the tone. This is not some gentle roundtable discussion, it's a true battleground for ideas. Whether you're looking at a specific clinical case or zooming out to a broad health policy dilemma, this is where perspectives relentlessly and intellectually spar until the core issues are totally laid bare.
Which brings us to Section 3, choosing your expert panel, assembling the gladiators. When you're building a panel, you aren't just limited to a couple of doctors. The roster is massive. You can mix and match personas from a huge variety of categories. We're talking dozens of physician specialties. You can pull in nursing and allied health pros, like respiratory therapists, or even grab hospital leadership, like a CEO. You can bring in public health figures, health economists, or literally specific schools of clinical thought, like pitting evidence-based medicine against integrative medicine. It basically guarantees a truly diverse, comprehensive debate for whatever topic you throw at it.
And the contrasts on these panels can get pretty wild. Imagine pitting the emergency physician, whose entire mindset is triage, treating the worst case first, and making life-or-death decisions with totally incomplete information, directly against the accountant. The accountant is thinking in ledgers, cash flow, and the harsh financial reality behind the hospital's operations. Seeing clinical urgency negotiate against hard financial reality over one single dilemma, it's just an incredible exercise in rhetoric.
Actually, scratch that. It's not just about different professions either. The platform even represents the internal hierarchy of medical education. You can throw in the preclinical medical student, who is usually drowning in science and terrified of not knowing enough, all the way up to the attending physician who holds the ultimate clinical authority. This lets you see exactly how experience, hierarchy, and the heavy burden of final responsibility change the arguments happening in the room.
All right, Section 4, the rules of engagement, how the platform actually works.
The whole workflow is super logical and runs right in your browser. Step 1, you bring your own API key, whether you're using Claude, Gemini, or an OpenAI-compatible model. Step 2, you type in a specific case, or you can just have the platform auto-generate a topic that is guaranteed to divide the panel you've chosen. Step 3, you lock in that diverse panel of personas we just talked about. And finally, Step 4, you hit run and just watch as they launch into continuous rounds of opening statements and fiery rebuttals. Now, if you're focused on digital security, you'll be glad to know the platform operates on a strict privacy-first, bring-your-own-key model. Your API key is stored locally in your browser. It gets sent directly to the AI provider and never, ever passes through the platform's own servers. Nothing goes anywhere until you actually hit run on the debate.
Once the debate is live, there are some amazing interactive features to keep things engaging. You can let the rebuttals run for as long as you want. But here's the cool part. If the expert jargon gets a little too thick, you can toggle a feature to mellow down the language. This forces the personas to keep their exact same positions, but explain them at a plain 12th grade reading level. You can also have the platform read the turns aloud with distinct voices, or even interject your own notes directly to the panel mid-debate to steer the conversation or challenge them on a specific point.
Section 5. More than just talk. The actual utility of the platform. Look, it is absolutely crucial to clearly define the boundaries here. Clinical Polemos is a reasoning and rhetoric exercise designed for medical education and policy discussion. It's built on LLM-generated content, which means it requires independent verification because it can be prone to bias. But it is emphatically not a diagnostic tool, and it absolutely does not provide professional clinical advice. It's an arena to practice your reasoning. It is not a perfect, objective source to diagnose a real human being.
To make sure things stay grounded, the platform includes specific care and system frames. A great example is the patient-centered frame. This frame filters every single decision through one vital question. What does this actually mean for the patient living it? Using frames like this guarantees that amidst all the sparring over complex policies and financial realities, the actual human element is never lost in the debate.
So, I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought today. How would your own reasoning hold up? Seriously, if you took your best idea for a clinical workflow or your strongest opinion on health policy and dropped it into Clinical Polemos against a relentless panel of the healthcare system's toughest stakeholders, would your argument survive? It's a pretty fascinating way to test our own blind spots, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.